Hey everybody, Donkey Storm here, and after a weekend of blasting and getting blasted in Mythic Plus on the Dragonflight beta, I wanted to go over all my thoughts on the testing I did on some of the healers in our upcoming World of Warcraft expansion, in addition to some big changes coming to some of these healers and to Mythic Plus in general. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's first talk about the new seasonal affix, Thundering. You've probably heard this already, but if you haven't, let me be the first to tell you, the first iteration of Thundering was flat out bad and really unpopular with the player base already. But Blizzard had something to say about this. In a blue post, they said that on Beta Realms, you'll soon be seeing an experimental version of a season affix named Thundering. We're still iterating heavily, and it's likely the functionality will change, but it should give a sense of the level of complexity we'd like seasonal affixes to occupy in Dragonflight. Since you'll already be learning a whole new set of dungeons, the seasonal affix can be less complicated and focus more on being about thematic flavor, as well as trying to give us space to try new things. And as of a few hours ago, Blizzard has made a change to Thundering, though not one we've had an opportunity to test yet, but here it is. So Razgath now is going to mark players with Mark of Wind or Mark of Lightning, granting them 15% increased damage and healing done for 15 seconds. Coming into contact with the opposing mark neutralizes the effect on both players, and after 15 seconds, the mark players are afflicted with Primal Overload, stunning them and inflicting 9 nature damage every 1 second for 8 seconds. So the second part of this tooltip here still kind of makes me think that we're still going to be dealing with the big blue swirlies taking up all the area, which I'm definitely not a fan of, and I would not mind seeing that part go away or be greatly reduced, as it was really intrusive when you're trying to deal with other mechanics. It kind of reminded me of Quaking, where it could just kind of pop up out of nowhere and really mess things up. As for this new aspect of the buffs that are added, I like this change. I think it's moving in the right direction. It's going to be hard to speak to it until we've had a chance to test it, but the way I imagine it's going to work is that 2 people will get these buffs. They'll probably try to get like 13 seconds of use out of them before they run into each other and negate this stun. So yes, the seasonal affix is definitely still a work in progress. It's good to see that Blizzard understands that it's not ready to go and that they're willing to try new things. So I'm excited to see where this takes us. As for the dungeons themselves, we only had a chance at testing Ruby Life Pools in the Azure Vault. Of the two, I liked Ruby Life Pools a lot better, as the pulls were more fast and furious, and it had fewer hair-pulling mechanics than Azure Vault did. Life Pools also had more interesting bosses, and I thought felt better tuned, except for the ridiculous Thunder Dragon mini-boss in the second area. Oh my god, Blizzard, please fix this. The first area of Azure Vault was absolute monkeypox, as the Lashers frequently cast a horrendous AoE that needs to be kicked or it essentially wipes the group. The first boss gave every group I was in trouble as well, as there didn't seem to be enough ways for us to clear these trees that the mob consumed before he consumes them all and basically one-shots your entire group. From a healer perspective, you also had the added bonus of many of the ads he spawns making a beeline for your face the instant they appear due to heal aggro. After this boss though, most groups had a relatively easy time finishing the dungeon, but this dungeon for sure is one you're going to want to have a ton of CC for if it goes live anything like it plays on beta. From a route perspective, both dungeons were really linear, and at least at first glance didn't offer a ton of choice as to how you might approach reaching your 100% count. From a healing perspective, there seemed to be a lot of big AoE burst damage that goes out, and the healing style felt more similar to Shadowlands Season 4, where healers really need to pump out the HPS, than it did early Shadowlands, where we were just trying to play 5th DPS. This is a playstyle I'm really a fan of, and I hope that Blizzard makes healing an emphasis in Mythic Plus content like it is in Shadowlands Season 4. It felt like the dungeons were going that way now, but obviously we have a long way to go to know that for sure. Alright, so probably what everyone wants to hear, how did the specs play in Mythic Plus? How did they feel? What was good? What was not? I had a chance to spend some time on most specs. I prioritized my time into the ones that I felt like I might consider maining, so I didn't get a chance to hit everything equally, but I do feel like I came away with some really solid understanding of how some of the specs play, and knowledge that's going to be valuable when I choose my healing main soon. So Preservation Invoker felt decent enough, but there's still something clunky about the healing rotation. Admittedly, its cooldowns like Rewind and Stasis pump healing, and as long as you can get empowered heals out like Spirit Bloom or Dream Breath, they absolutely top your group's HP up. I didn't really have any issues with the 30-yard range, surprisingly enough either, so despite feeling a little bit awkward, Evoker did get the job done, and a lot of that could be attributed to the fact that this was my first time doing really challenging content on the spec. I'm still hopeful that Preservation is going to be really solid healing spec when the game releases, but I am walking back my thoughts on maining it a bit after getting some time with other specs on beta that just feel a little bit more smooth. Resto Druid felt extremely strong and complete. I'm not sure if it was just the tuning or the 4-set bonus or what, but it seemed to always have what I needed to get the job done on Resto Druid. Wild Growth was absolutely pumping and Tranquility felt like an actual cooldown again, which was awesome. It was also the spec from my testing that I personally was able to consistently get the most damage out of, despite derping my way through new mechanics and healing groups, playing like absolute boosted animals. Unfortunately, I must not have been the only one that noticed this, because shortly after the Mythic Plus testing was taken off beta, Resto Druid got a 10% nerf to all their healing spells, and their 4-set Wild Growth bonus got nerfed by 50%. It's pretty painful for Resto Druids, but will likely tone them down to the rest of the healing pack. When we get another shot at Mythic Plus on beta soon, we'll see how impactful that nerf really is. Mistweaver Monk continued to be an absolute blast to play, but I did feel like it lacked the bursty healing throughput I needed at times, and also suffered a bit from quite a few mechanics that were really not melee friendly, particularly ruby life pools. So while I do think Mistweaver is as fun and well designed as advertised, we know that once content gets really difficult, the numbers matter, and we'll have to see if Monks have the tools and is tuned well enough to compete, because unfortunately you can't just heal with fun points. Also, as a sad side note, Vivify was just nerfed by 25%, and the healing increase from the Monk 2-set bonus was reduced from 15 to 10%. That hurts, as those instant Vivifies going to everyone with renewing mists on them felt amazing, and now they're gonna feel a little bit less amazing. 25% to be exact. This is still a spec I plan to put a lot of time into, and I want to keep an eye on as a potential main when Dragonflight goes live, as it is a load of fun to play. Shaman sort of continued to be the stalwart, solid healer that it has felt like all beta long. Definitely had the throughput needed to keep people up, and has a load of cooldowns for handling these dungeons that were quite honestly very overtuned. From a gameplay perspective, Shaman felt a little bit vanilla, and definitely not as dynamic as Resto Druid or Mistweaver Monk in either the healing or damage department, but if you're looking for just a rock solid healer with an answer to pretty much every situation, I still think Shaman's going to be exactly that in 10.0. Unfortunately, my Holy Priest testing got cut short with the ending of Mythic Plus on beta, and it was the last spec I got a chance to play, and only a bit before the weekend ended. What I will say is that it felt surprisingly good, to be honest. Holy still breaks off some big fat single target heals and has more interesting DPS rotation than the Shadowlands version. It does still lack utility, but it felt like Holy was closer to the Shadowlands Season 4 throughput monster than I expected it to be. Honestly, it kind of renewed my hope for the spec a bit, and I'm really looking forward to jumping right back into this one when we get another chance at testing Mythic Plus, because while all these other specs seem to be getting nerfed, Holy is just kind of sitting there happily staying the same, and that may not be a bad thing for them. So to close it out, from the time of this recording, there's 47 days until Dragonflight releases. Is Dragonflight's Mythic Plus going to be ready? I mean, to be fair, Mythic Plus doesn't come out on release date, but here's my final impression. The healing specs feel good for the most part, and although there are definitely going to be some players that are upset by this round of nerfs, I think they actually bring the healing specs in line with each other very well. My initial feeling is that all the healing specs should be viable, as the usual meta will likely be decided by damage or utility, which we don't have a great feel for yet. Dungeons and tuning is my main concern. You may remember that Shadowlands dungeons were horribly tuned on release, and I'm hoping that Dragonflight's first season doesn't mimic Shadowlands Season 1. That one took months to get nailed down, and if BFA and Shadowlands are any indication, it does not take that long for a large amount of the player base to sour on an expansion if it isn't really ready on release. Honestly, if the whole thing had to wait another month, I'd be totally okay with it if it meant we got a polished, finished product on day one. Spoiler alert though, I highly doubt that's going to be happening, so I really hope that Blizzard makes the most of Mythic Plus testing over the next few weeks. If It was a blast getting into Dragonflight Mythic Plus this weekend, and I can't wait to get back in and give the rest of the specs a try and see how some of these recent changes played out. I'm really hopeful that Dragonflight's going to be an awesome expansion for Mythic Plus. If you got to test out any beta Mythic Plus, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section about how the different healing specs felt for you. And if you want to see more Dragonflight healer content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out my stream on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday right here on YouTube, where we go hard into Mythic Plus healing every night. Thanks for watching, and happy healing.